2 weeks before my wedding, my dad told me he wouldn't walk me down the aisle. He said doing it would disrespect my stepmom. Fine. On my wedding day, I made sure he felt that choice. I was in my childhood bedroom, hunting for my late grandma's pearl necklace. Dad knocked, sat on the edge of my bed, and acted serious. I thought he was about to get emotional. Instead, he said, "I'm not walking you." Then he blamed my stepmom, Lori. Dad had walked Lori's daughter, Maya, down the aisle 3 years earlier. Lori decided it would look inappropriate if he did the same for me. I said, "I'm your actual daughter." Dad hit me with, "Biology doesn't determine family. Then, be considerate of Lori's feelings." My face went hot. Lori had spent 8 years playing victim and pushing me out. If I spoke up, she cried. If I stayed quiet, she smiled. I asked, "Whose idea was this?" He admitted it was Lori's, and he agreed. So I took grandma's pearls and left. No goodbye, just silence and the sound of my own car starting. At home, my fiancé, Evan, wanted to call Dad and talk man to man. I told him not to bother. Evan asked who would walk me instead. I said, "I'll walk myself before I beg." The next 2 weeks were manipulation on repeat. Lori called to explain her position and swear she saw me as family. Maya texted, "My mom's being ridiculous, but I don't want to get involved." Dad emailed me a speech about independence as a modern woman. I deleted it mid-sentence. Wedding day came. My mom died when I was 12, and I'd spent years hoping Dad would cover the moments she missed. I stopped expecting it a long time ago. I walked down the vineyard aisle alone. My head stayed high. My eyes stayed on Evan. Dad and Lori sat in the second row because I made sure they did. The ceremony was beautiful. Evan cried during his vows. Everyone cheered when we walked back up the aisle together. Then the reception hit the father-daughter dance slot. I'd removed it weeks ago and only told Evan and the DJ. The DJ announced we were skipping straight to the bouquet toss. Across the room, my dad froze, confused, then hurt, then angry. He stood up. Lori whispered in his ear. He marched toward me. He stopped in front of me. "Why is there no father-daughter dance?" I stared at him. "There's no father to dance with." His jaw clenched. "That's cruel and unnecessary." I nodded slowly. "Walking your daughter down the aisle is tradition. You decided tradition didn't matter." His face turned red. He opened his mouth to argue. Evan appeared beside me, close, solid. His hand rested on my back. My dad leaned in like he owned the space. Evan didn't move. Evan's brother slid between us. Not aggressive, just final. My dad blinked like he couldn't compute it. The music kept playing. Lori smiled at me and said, "You embarrassed your father." I pulled my arm away and turned my back on her. No explanation, no performance, just done. Dad and Lori left 10 minutes later. The room got lighter the second they were gone. People laughed again. The night finally felt like a wedding. On our honeymoon, Dad emailed, "We need to talk about your behavior." Evan and I laughed until we couldn't breathe. I deleted it without reading. When we got home, 2 letters arrived. One accused me of causing a scene. The other said Evan had changed me. I replied once, in plain language, "You chose not to walk me, and choices have consequences." No surprise visits, no guilt campaigns, no relationship without real accountability. 2 weeks later, Dad showed up at our apartment anyway and pounded on the door. Evan opened it just enough to block the frame and said, "You need to leave." Dad tried to push in. Evan didn't budge. I stood beside my husband and said, "Respect my boundaries or lose me." Dad spat that I was manipulated. Evan laughed and said, "Or maybe she finally has support." A few months later, I found out I was pregnant. Dad emailed congratulations like nothing happened, already talking nursery colors and when he could meet the baby. That assumption flipped a switch in me. I wrote back, "Being a grandparent is a privilege earned through respect." Until he owned what he'd done, he had no access to my child. He went quiet, no apologies, no accountability, just silence. Our daughter was born on a Tuesday morning. Evan's parents showed up first. My aunt came with flowers, friends came with food. Love filled the room. My dad didn't come, he didn't call. And honestly, that absence was clarity. My child will grow up around people who show up and don't keep score. So tell me, if your parent chose their spouse's ego over you, what would you do?